Everybody knows that our minhag is to wait 6 hours after eating meat before we eat cheese or milk. But I would say that not everybody knows the reason for waiting the 6 hours. The Taz in the Shulchan Aruch in Peites, the Taz says that there are two reasons for waiting. One is that meat is fatty, and the fattiness retains the taste of the meat for a long time, and therefore you shouldn't drink the milk or eat the cheese unless a long time passes. The second reason is apparently what the Rambam says, and that is that you could actually have meat stuck in your mouth for a long time, and therefore it's good to wait the full 6 hours, as the Shulchan Aruch says, in order to make sure that you don't eat the meat and the milk together. So you have to understand that this is a tremendous chumrah, even though very well accepted in Am Yisrael. I mean, almost everybody, waits 6 hours. The chumrah is that, after all, when we started out, we were talking about cooking meat and milk together and making a new element, a new edible food called cooked meat and milk. And that's what the Torah doesn't want you to cook, doesn't want you to eat, and doesn't want you to get any pleasure from. Surely, having the taste of meat in your mouth, lingering, and then drinking milk doesn't sound like the same thing. But this is in the Shulchan Aruch, and the 6 hours, even though they're not found in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Gemara doesn't say 6 hours. The Gemara says other things, but the Rif already tells us 6 hours. And even though there are deviant minhagim, as there are more mentions here in Peitet, Yerdei Peitet, there are more mentions that some people wait 3 hours, or they wait 1 hour. Nevertheless, the minhag that has become standard for the Jewish people is 6 hours. Now, it's also not perfectly clear when the 6 hours start and when they finish. By that I mean, do you start counting the 6 hour, let's say you're eating a meal on Shabbos that has a lot of courses and a lot of good conversation, and you finish eating the meat dish, but you're still going to eat fruit or coffee or tea, so it could take you another hour to finish the meal with the conversation. When do you start counting the 6th hour? So most of the poskim agree, although not all naturally, but most of the poskim agree that you start counting the 6 hours when you finish eating the meat. So even if you finish eating meat an hour before you bench, you can start counting the 6 hours when you finish eating the meat. As far as the end of the 6 hours is concerned, we know that there's a Rambam. And the Rambam says in the Machalot Asurot, Perek Tet, Halacha Kavchet, the Rambam says this, listen carefully, Mishachal Basar, Betchila Bein Basar Behema Bein Basar. We understand that whenever we say Basar today, whenever we say meat, we also mean fowl, even though that was itself an addition to the original Doraisa position. Lo yochal acharav chalav ad sheyeh beinehem kedei shi'ur su'uda acheret. So he says you have to wait between the meat meal and the milk meal, and he uses the language of the Gemara. The Gemara says kedei su'uda acheret. How long do people usually wait between meals? And then he says v'hu kimo sheisha'ot. It's approximately, I think would be a fair translation, 6 hours. So that poskim today, and this is known in the name of Rabbi Yashiv, for example, would say that 5 hours plus most of the 6th hour, about more than a half hour, would be sufficient. That's also considered to be 6 hours based on this Rambam. The Rambam says that the reason for this chumrah is the meat that's left between the teeth. Remember, the Taz quoted that Rambam, she'eno sar b'kiluach, that if you eat something in order to get the taste of the meal out of your mouth, like at the end of the meal you eat a fruit or you eat cake or whatever you eat, in order to get the taste of the meat out of your mouth, so you feel refreshed. Whatever it is that you eat, there's a little bit of meat that can't really be dealt with that way, and therefore you have to wait the 6 hours. The two kulot, the two more liberal positions are that you could start counting the 6 hours from the end of the eating of the meat, and you don't have to wait till the end of the meal. And the second is that according to the Rambam, if you wait 5 hours plus most of the 6th hour, that is also sufficient.